I never thought I'd see someone knock my wife to the ground with a smug grin at a neighborhood picnic, but there we were. 3 days after we moved into Willow Creek Estates. The HOA president, Brenda Halston, kicked my wife's crutches out from under her. She didn't trip. She didn't stumble. Brenda raised the heel of her wedge sandal and kicked. My wife, Ellie, hit the pavement hard, scraping her hands on the gravel, while the crowd around us gasped in frozen horror. Brenda didn't apologize. She didn't even look guilty. She smirked and said something about fakers draining the community budget. But what Brenda didn't know was that Ellie wasn't just some helpless newcomer. She was a newly appointed district judge for the very county that was about to launch a fraud investigation into Brenda's HOA. Yeah, Brenda had no idea. She just assaulted the woman who would be presiding over her downfall. We moved into this neighborhood for peace. After Ellie's spinal surgery, we wanted quiet. A modest one-story home by the lake. Tomatoes in the yard. Slow mornings with coffee. But Willow Creek was anything but peaceful. It was a gated kingdom run by Brenda and her cliquean HOA board, stuffed with her friends and funded by fear. On day one, Brenda slapped a violation sticker on our mailbox. Wrong font. Day two, she knocked on our door to tell Ellie that dragging crutches on decorative pavers was a pity parade. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she was overworked. Maybe she hated everyone equally. Nope. She had it out for Ellie. At the community potluck, I convinced Ellie to come. She was nervous but willing. She used her transport chair until we reached the tables, then stood with her crutches to stretch. That's when Brenda strutted over like she owned the asphalt and delivered the strike one smooth kick, sending Ellie to the ground. Then she said we should try out for the neighborhood theater club if we liked pretending so much. The crowd stood silent, until a neighbor named Marcus stepped forward. Phone raised. Got it all on video, he said. Brenda blinked for the first time. We left quietly. Ellie was scraped, but not broken. Trey, a retired attorney who lived a few doors down, helped us home. He offered Ellie a glass of water and, more importantly, a mountain of HOA files he'd kept since Brenda took over. Turns out, Brenda muscled her way into the presidency after the former one relocated. Since then, the books were a mess: random fines, inflated fees, and shady landscaping projects that cost more than a new car. Ellie said little that night, just sipped tea and took notes. But I recognized that look in her eye. Calm, focused, dangerous. The next morning, we found a friendly reminder taped to our doorknob: unattended mobility aids on porches. The following day, a newsletter article suggested that all residents should contribute physically to neighborhood cleanup. We were being baited. Ellie didn't take it. She documented everything: dates, wording, signatures. We called it the Brenda binder. Then came the ramp notice. Brenda claimed our ADA compliant, county-approved ramp was a non-conforming modification. Ellie actually helped write part of that ADA ordinance during a previous case. She chuckled. That dangerous kind of chuckle lawyers give before they drop the hammer. Trey showed up with more intel. Another neighbor, a disabled woman named Carol, had her mailbox torn out by HOA contractors. When she protested, Brenda threatened her with a lien. Ellie added it to the binder. What Brenda didn't realize was that we had evidence of a larger pattern: not just bullying, but coordinated abuse, financial coercion, and impersonation of government authority. The HOA had been issuing city-style citations without legal basis. That's a felony. Ellie sent her first anonymous inquiry to the district attorney's office. Brenda responded with a hearing notice, a formal summons accusing us of disrupting community harmony. It was written like a soap opera and scheduled for Friday. That week, Ellie discovered something big. Our home had been annexed into the HOA boundary without a proper vote. The previous owners never signed the agreement. which meant Brenda had no legal authority over us. And we weren't the only ones. At the Friday hearing, we arrived calm. Ellie wore slacks, a plain blouse, and that silver bracelet I gave her the day she made judge. Brenda stood at the front of the clubhouse with her binder and a twisted smile. 50 neighbors watched as she launched into her speech. When Ellie was called to speak, she thanked Brenda. Then she read the HOA charter aloud. Clause 17. Due process requires 10 days' notice and a neutral arbitrator. Brenda blinked. Then Ellie passed around printed packets. 10 pages of financial inconsistencies, vendor links, and legal citations. Turns out the company being paid for all those $20. 000 maintenance jobs? Registered to Brenda's cousin. Audible gasps. Someone whispered. She brought receipts. Ellie explained that she had submitted the files to state agencies for audit. Brenda tried to interrupt. Ellie reminded her she was here as a resident, not a judge, but the law still applied. The room erupted into applause. Brenda lost control. Her patrols turned desperate. She handed out flyers accusing Ellie of legal sabotage. One had Ellie's face photoshopped to look sinister. It was pathetic. By Monday, Ellie received a letter confirming a formal inquiry had been opened. Later that week, a black SUV stopped at Brenda's garage office. Men in suits took photos. By Thursday, Brenda was unraveling in real time. A former board member leaked documents to a reporter. The story hit the news that Sunday. Then the twist. Ellie was assigned as the presiding judge in a civil lawsuit filed by other residents against the HOA. It was separate from her personal complaint, and she recused herself from our portion. But she led the hearings on the rest. One by one, neighbors testified. Elderly residents, single moms, veterans, all victims of the HOA's harassment. The final blow came when a forensic accountant revealed that Brenda funneled HOA funds into shell companies tied to relatives. Brenda stood up and screamed. The judge, not Ellie, ordered her to sit. Her lawyer asked for a recess. Everyone knew it was over. Weeks later, the final ruling came. Brenda was found guilty of misconduct, ADA violations, and fraud. Her assets frozen. Banned from any HOA leadership for life. The neighborhood held a new election. Trey was voted president. Transparency returned. Fines were reviewed. Rules rewritten. Brenda's house went on the market. She left in silence. No goodbyes. That weekend, kids played on our street again. The ramp Brenda mocked was now lined with flowers. At the community picnic, Ellie was invited to speak. She kept it short. Justice isn't loud. It's steady, and it belongs to everyone. Brenda thought she kicked a woman beneath her. Instead, she triggered her own collapse. Ellie didn't seek revenge. She brought accountability. So tell me, have you ever seen an HOA go this far? Drop your thoughts in the comments. What would you do if someone like Brenda ran your neighborhood?